He started with nothing. A $100 loan changed history. No school, no connections, no safety net. Dropped out at 11. Never looked back. He died the richest man America had ever seen. This is how one obsessed man built the impossible. Staten Island, 1794. America had almost nothing. His family arrived as servants. No land, no power. Everyone called him an illiterate brute. He worked his father's ferry before age 12. He watched every move, learned everything fast. At 16, he made his mother a deal. Clear the field, get the loan, build the future. His mother gave him $100. Everything changed. He bought a sailboat, launched his first ferry. Staten Island to Manhattan, a one-man operation. Cheapest fares, hardest worker, no competition. He recruited local kids, free rides for help. By 18, he ran 3 boats, 3 routes. 1,812. War hit America. He saw opportunity. Government needed transport. He had the boats. He ferried troops and goods, made a fortune. They called him the Commodore. He earned it. He reinvested everything, spent almost nothing. 1,813. He married. Family was never his focus. Business was his only love, his only loyalty. The river was his kingdom. He ruled it alone. Every rival who challenged him eventually fell. He was building something they couldn't imagine. One man, one vision, unstoppable momentum. The richest dynasty in America started here. Late 1820s. Steam changed everything on water. Steamboats were faster, bigger, more profitable. He adapted, sold the sails, bought the steam. He named his line the People's Line. Affordable fares, everyday people, massive volume. Competitors charged more, he charged less, always. His enemy's gain was always his next target. He undersold until rivals went bankrupt, then bought. His fleet grew, his grip tightened, no mercy. America had never seen a competitor like him. By the 1830s, he dominated ferry routes across New York Harbor with unmatched speed and pricing. His strategy was simple: be cheaper, be faster, and outlast every competitor who dared enter his market. The Steamboat Association tried to push him out by controlling all Hudson River traffic rights. Vanderbilt responded by slashing his fares to 0, offering free trips to anyone who would ride. The association panicked. They paid him $100,000 just to stop competing on the Hudson River. He had been paid a fortune simply to leave and immediately opened competing routes elsewhere. His rivals were furious. His customers were loyal. His coffers kept growing every single month. He reinvested aggressively, upgrading his fleet with the newest and most powerful steamboats available. While wealthy New Yorkers enjoyed luxury, Vanderbilt wore plain clothes and lived simply, always reinvesting. In 1849, the California gold rush transformed American commerce, and Vanderbilt saw it instantly. Thousands of Americans needed to reach California fast. The traditional Panama route was slow and expensive. Vanderbilt identified a shorter route through Nicaragua, cutting 600 miles off the standard journey. He sailed to Nicaragua personally and negotiated an exclusive transit deal with its government. He built a steamship route that moved thousands of gold rush passengers faster and cheaper than anyone. His Nicaragua line earned him millions annually and established him as the dominant transatlantic operator. In 1853, nearing 60, he took his first vacation, a grand European yacht tour. While he toured Europe, his partners Morgan and Garrison quietly seized control of his Nicaragua operation. Vanderbilt sent them a letter. It became one of history's most famous business threats ever written. He wrote, "I will ruin you," and then he did methodically, completely, without hesitation. He financed a rival operation, crushed their revenue, and forced their surrender within 2 years. When the Nicaraguan government revoked his rights, he used his wealth to help overthrow the regime. Nobody threatened Vanderbilt's business interests, not partners, not governments, not rival fleets. By the mid-1850s, his steamship fleet was the largest private fleet in the Western Hemisphere. Newspapers across America debated whether one man should control so much of the nation's transport. He didn't care what they wrote. Results were his only answer. He was feared in every boardroom and respected in every port along the eastern seaboard. Then, in the 1860s, something new caught his attention: the American railroad network. Railroads were fragmenting America. Dozens of small lines, each independently owned, each inefficient and slow. He saw exactly what others missed. A unified national railroad network was worth incomprehensible fortune. He sold his entire steamship fleet and moved all his capital into railroads, an extraordinary pivot. First, he acquired the New York and Harlem Railroad, gaining a critical foothold in the city. Corrupt politicians attempted to manipulate his stock prices, hoping to destroy him before he grew too large. Vanderbilt quietly bought every share they tried to dump, cornering the market and defeating the scheme. Next, he acquired the Hudson River Railroad, connecting New York City to Albany in a single route. He was building what no American had dared attempt: one railroad connecting the entire eastern coast. Consolidation was his weapon. Each acquisition made the whole network exponentially more valuable. Where 5 small railroads once charged high fares poorly, one Vanderbilt railroad charged less and delivered more. His operational efficiency cut costs dramatically, something independent operators simply could never match. In 1869, he merged his lines into the mighty New York Central Railroad, his greatest creation. The New York Central became the largest railroad empire in the world, stretching thousands of miles. Freight, passengers, mail, everything that moved across the Northeast now moved on his tracks. Rival Erie Railroad threatened his dominance in a battle that became known as the Erie War. He tried to corner Erie stock but was outsmarted by Jay Gould, one of the few men who outwitted him. He accepted the loss, regrouped, and focused on making his own empire impregnable from within. By the 1870s, Vanderbilt controlled more personal wealth than the entire United States Treasury. His fortune represented approximately 1/9 of all the money circulating in America at that time. No one in American history before him had ever accumulated such a proportion of national wealth. He predated Rockefeller, Carnegie, and J.P. Morgan, and outpaced them all in relative wealth. His railroad network transformed American commerce, making cross-country trade faster than ever before. Towns along his railroad lines exploded in growth, their economies transformed by access to new markets. Farmers, manufacturers, and merchants, every segment of the economy depended on Vanderbilt's network. He standardized rail gauges across his network, making the system faster and dramatically more efficient. He hired the best engineers and managers, building a professional railroad operation unlike any other. He built Grand Central Depot in New York City, a symbol of his railroad empire's magnificence. The depot became the beating heart of New York City commerce, a monument to his ambition. He continued expanding westward, pushing his railroad routes deeper into the American interior. Every acquisition strengthened the network, making each subsequent deal even more profitable than the last. He understood network effects before economists had even named the concept. More routes meant more value. Competitors who remained fragmented could not match his pricing, delivery speed, or geographic reach. By 1875, New York Central was the dominant commercial rail carrier in the entire United States. He was 70 years old and still arriving at his office before dawn every single day. He personally reviewed every major contract, every financial report, every acquisition proposal himself. He had no patience for laziness or excuses. Performance was the only currency he accepted. His management style was brutal but effective. He demanded excellence and rewarded results generously. His personal life was darker. He neglected his 13 children, viewing most as weak and unworthy. He committed his own son to an asylum in 1854 for having epileptic fits, a decision history condemns. In 1868, his wife Sophia died. He remarried within a year, choosing another younger cousin. He was never known for warmth or generosity until the very end of his life changed his calculation. In 1873, Vanderbilt donated $1 million to establish a university in Nashville, Tennessee. The gift was the largest charitable donation in American history. At that time, Vanderbilt University was born. The university was built to help reunite a nation still divided years after the Civil War's end. It was a rare act of vision. He saw education as the next engine of American growth. His business empire continued growing in his final years, generating income far beyond his ability to spend. He spent his final years consolidating his railroad holdings and preparing the empire for succession. He made it clear that weakness was unacceptable. Only his son William was deemed worthy of the throne. His health declined slowly through 1876, but he kept directing his empire from his Manhattan home. Even on his final days, he reviewed contracts and gave orders. The empire never stopped moving. On the 4th of January 1877, Cornelius Vanderbilt died at age 82 in New York City. He left behind a fortune of $100 million, equivalent to nearly $200 billion in today's value. 90% of that fortune went to his son William, the most concentrated inheritance in American history. Vanderbilt's story is the original American rags-to-riches blueprint, built on obsession, adaptability, and relentless execution. He proved that formal education was not a prerequisite for building one of the world's greatest fortunes. His first lesson: start with what you have. A $100 loan launched an empire worth $200 billion. His second lesson: reinvest relentlessly. Every dollar he earned went back into building something bigger. He lived simply and spent modestly, even while controlling more wealth than any man in American history. His third lesson: adaptability is survival. He pivoted from sailboats to steamships to railroads without hesitation. Each time technology shifted, he embraced it before competitors even understood what was happening around them. His fourth lesson: efficiency is a competitive weapon. He weaponized lower costs to systematically destroy rivals. Being cheaper and faster wasn't just good business for Vanderbilt, it was a deliberate warfare strategy. His fifth lesson: consolidation multiplies value. The sum of his network was worth far more than its parts. A scattered collection of small railroads became a continental empire simply by being connected as one. He built systems, not just businesses, systems that outlasted him and served millions for generations after. His sixth lesson: never stop learning. He taught himself about steamboats, railroads, and finance through pure experience. No classroom gave him his education. The marketplace was his university, brutal, honest, and unforgiving. He is often remembered as a robber baron, but his legacy is also the modernization of American commerce. Without Vanderbilt's railroads, America's Industrial Revolution could not have happened at the speed it did. He connected cities, empowered farmers, and gave manufacturers access to national markets they had never reached. His Grand Central Depot lives on today as Grand Central Terminal, still the heart of New York City. Vanderbilt University continues to educate tens of thousands of students every year, 150 years after his gift. His name lives in every institution he touched, in stone, in steel, in the roads of the American economy. What separates Vanderbilt from other great builders is that he started with nothing and rebuilt himself 3 times. Each reinvention was bigger than the last, each pivot bolder, faster, and more strategically sound. He never relied on luck. He studied the market, identified the shift, and moved first every single time. The world's greatest wealth has always been built not by those who wait, but by those who move early. Vanderbilt moved early in ferries, early in steamships, and early in railroads, always ahead of the curve. His story reminds us that obsession, when directed properly, is the most powerful force in business. He had no secret formula, just an unbreakable will to work harder and smarter than every competitor. The question he leaves every entrepreneur today is not whether it is possible, it is whether you will do it. The market does not reward those who hesitate, it rewards those who commit, execute, and persist relentlessly. Vanderbilt's empire was not built in comfort. It was forged in relentless daily effort, failure, and recovery. Every great American business dynasty begins with one person who refused to accept the limits placed around them. Vanderbilt refused those limits at 11 years old and spent the next 70 years proving the doubters wrong. His competitors feared him because he was willing to lose money today to own the entire market tomorrow. That long-term thinking sacrifice now for dominance later is the core principle behind